Well, it's time to talk again about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and what Rocksteady is doing with their new DLC character, Mrs. Freeze. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the game in general and where things are headed from here. Spoiler alert, it's not good for Rocksteady, and we'll get into it in a minute. So this article here comes from Bounding Into Comics. Rocksteady confirms next Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League DLC character, Mrs. Freeze, is a lesbian. Now it goes into some of the details, and you can read this article at your will. But the big point here is that Mrs. Freeze is quite literally a gender swap version of Victor Freeze, beat for beat. Name is Victoria. Same story with the wife. Same story with everything. As far as we can tell, this is exactly Victor Freeze, but gender swapped. So, not very original at all there. And you can see in the article, they even mentioned back to the comics where, his wife, was Mrs. Freeze. That was the idea, it was Victor and Nora from the comics. And, that was a cool idea. That was a cool concept. But no, we can't have that in the games. We just have to gender swap Victor Freeze and make her a lesbian. And that's how we're going to do it, right? Anyway, to get into more of the details on this, this is not going to save Suicide Squad. This is not going to save Rocksteady. And I think we're looking at the end of an era of Rocksteady Studios making good games or even being around. I don't know. Have they been shut down yet? Because if not, then you can kind of expect it at this point because they ain't making no money off of this game. So let's just take a look and we'll get into some of the details. Now, what I can see here is that the amount of interest in this DLC is coming from this spike right here, because this is fairly recent. This is from the 25th. This is when people were starting to find out and probably jumping back into the game because of that interest. And we go from 248 to a peak of 572. A couple of hundred players ain't going to make no difference on this DLC. But even just being very charitable and saying that it is that 572 people that, let's say we double it to like 1,100 and change. Well, that's still not enough to really warrant a DLC being profitable. I mean, they put a lot of resources into making that DLC, presumably, unless it's a real short one. But yeah, 1,100 people buying it is not going to make a difference. And that's just going to make this game even worse financially on the balance sheets than it has been previously. It ain't going to save Rocksteady. It ain't going to save Suicide Squad. And that's pretty much where I think it sits. And you can even see that from the wish lists. I mean, there's nobody wish listing this game. There's no DLC, explicit DLC on Steam out yet. So we don't really have those numbers, but you can see from the release date, it went up a little bit, but there's nothing in recent history. You can even see from like the last month, 41,000 to 41,964 minus 396. So that's that same 600 some odd people right there. So yikes, not good. Not good at all. So, I mean, from a studio that gave us such amazing games, I mean, you're talking about, the Arkham series, the Batman series, the Batman games. They gave us some amazing games over the years, and they went from that to this. And you can see from the numbers, I mean, even, we're looking right here at Arkham Asylum Game of the Year edition. It's still outperforming Suicide Squad right now. 717 simultaneous players. And you can see, like, the numbers were phenomenal. I mean, this is from, come on. Yeah, 6,700 players, 3,200 players, 33,000 players. They had some incredible spikes for the Game of the Year edition. And this is not the original release, obviously. But then you can look at like Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is more appropriate because this is the actual release, and you got 27,000 simultaneous players on launch, effectively on launch. And even now, 6,600 players from July 2024. Let's zoom in a little closer. 1 week. And you can see, 29 to 3,100 players right now. Again, vastly outperforming Suicide Squad by an order of magnitude. So yeah, it's not good, but at least they still got their old Batman Arkham games, right? Not that they're making any money off of these, because anybody that would have bought them already owns them on Steam and on consoles, presumably. So Yeah, I mean that's where we're at with Rocksteady. Rocksteady is not looking good. I can't remember. Did they get shut down yet? If not, you can look forward to a shutdown notice on that studio. I think, at least that's my prediction, is that this is a poorly enough performing game that they're toast in this climate. You can't have that work, because I mean even the DLC is not going to change anything. It's not they're not even going to break even. They're losing money on the DLC. At least as far as these numbers are concerned, that's what's going to happen. It's going to make their balance sheet look worse. And with the studio cuts that we've been seeing the last 6 months, yeah, it's not looking good for Rocksteady. So RIP, I think. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like these kind of videos, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you guys later.